Today we're talking about the 10 biggest macro trends for Venezuela in 2024, and these ones are mostly positive.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
So today we're going to review how the economy can perform on 2024 according to a panel of specialists, and this information comes from my favorite Venezuelan economist, Asdrúbal Oliveros, and apparently we have some good news for 2024. Number one is probably the biggest, is that according to Ecoanalítica, my favorite Venezuelan economic firm, the economy, the GDP, is poised to grow 9.7%. Here in Venezuela, this is due first because of the sanction relief, the U.S. sanctions that allows to sell the crude oil without any discount. One of the biggest issues regarding cash flow to the country right now, it can be sold on the free market, and that's going to bring additional revenue to the Venezuelan economy. Number two is the growth on the tech sector. This is a sector that has been lagging on the past few years, of course, due to the economic collapse of the past decade. But right now, the tech sector is poised to grow significantly on 2024 in Venezuela. Venezuela is catching up to the trend, to the rest of the countries in Latin America and, of course, the world. So we are going to see bigger adoption of these tech platforms that are household names right now, the rest of the country, on the rest of the world, I'm talking fintech, also consumer platforms, also different services like ride-sharing services, also renting services, you name it. I'm talking apps such as Uber, that we don't have Uber in the country, but we have similar platforms here in the country. We have Airbnb, the true Airbnb, so it's going to become a household name in Venezuela as well, just as the rest of the world. And many other platforms, I'm talking fintech, I'm talking service-related tech platforms, and many other developments, startups, and so on, that are going to be trending towards the upper end on Venezuela on 2024. Number three is, of course, crude oil. The oil sector, of course, the moneymaker of the Venezuelan economy, is poised to grow as well. Remember, around 90% of the Venezuelan GDP is due to the oil industry and is poised to grow. We are having investing regarding oil multinationals that were a little bit scared to fully invest on the country due to the sanction regime by the United States. However, with this waiver that we're having right now on the Venezuelan economy of the sanctions, many oil multinationals are more freely, loose to poise to further invest in the country. So those are very good news for the Venezuelan economy, more jobs, more investing, and more economic development on this particular sector. Number four is the rise of imports. Right now, we're seeing trend, and this is since 2018, something of that regarding that date, is that imports in Venezuela have significantly grown. I'm talking imports from China, United States, the European Union, but also places like Turkey, India, also Argentina. I've seen, funny thing though, I've seen some Argentinian investors recently here, actually in my hometown, Lecheria. Beautiful postcard in the background. And we are seeing further imports on the country, and of course, the companies that provide the goods in order to be imported also are investing domestically, not just shipping the stuff, the goods, the widgets to the Venezuelan economy. So good news on that regard as well. Number five, and this is not a good one, we're going to see a mild raise regarding cost of living. Since the bottom of the market on 2018, when at that moment, the cost of living in Venezuela was dirt cheap. However, prices have been rising increasingly since 2019, and this year we're going to keep seeing the rise of cost of living overall on the country, but not as dramatically as the past few years. Number 6, and this is a very big one, is the rising on banking credit. Last year, the banking credit in Venezuela rose around 93%, although from a very low base. Average in Latin America, the banking credit represents 30% of the GDP. However, in Venezuela, it's less than 1%. However, it's rising over 2-3% of GDP, and of course, most of the credit is going to private enterprises that are reinvesting, are doing some capex on their domestic operations. So that's a great news for the Venezuelan economy. Number 7 is we are going to see the rise on remittances to the country. Venezuela is not as big regarding remittances. However, we saw this diaspora of 7 million Venezuelan people. Right now, these people, a big chunk of them are established on their departure countries. I'm talking countries like Spain, the United States, Chile, Panama, other places on the European Union, other places in Latin America like Mexico, Argentina, and Colombia, of course. So these people, they're already been settled on those destinations, and they're sending back some money to their families and relatives here in Venezuela, and that amount can represent something around 2.5 and 3 billion US dollars extra for the Venezuelan economy. Number 8 is the rise of public spending. And of course, most of you are libertarians and you don't like big government spending. The Venezuelan government on the past 6 years or so, let's say, they have been very frugal, very stingy regarding public spending. Venezuela is not a communist or socialist economy, it's a crony capitalistic economy. However, the government is gonna increase the public spending this year on 2024 for two things. First, of course, they want to keep people happy because this is an election year in Venezuela and the government is poised to win the election yet again, and I'm not gonna get into politics on this particular video. However, they want to keep everyone happy to secure the re-election of Maduro and the Chavismo, and they're gonna stay in power many, many years to come. But they want to, secure the thing and keep everyone happy within the country and also abroad. So that's why we are mostly sure that we're going to see an increase on public spending. That means more money on the streets, more consumer spending, and a little bit more on that later. Number 9, of course, we're going to see a rise of private consumption, both for companies, enterprises, and also for household spending. And here's why. On 2018, 2017, the consumer spending by Venezuelans was dead on the water. However, the purchasing power is still very low for the average Venezuelan, but it's been slightly increasing since 2019. And on 2024, we are going to keep seeing rises on public spending, with private consumption and household consumption. And of course, that's going to increase the opportunities for the private sector, retailers, distribution, and wholesale companies. So another great news for the Venezuelan economy on 2024. And number 10, and of course, everything can be as good. We are going to see a rise on political uncertainty. Now, the status quo is that the Chavismo has a firm grip on the political power in Venezuela, and that is going to keep. And if you don't like the Chavismo, I'm sorry, it is what it is. However, that gives us some certainty that we know we are dealing with. So make all of your strategies and your planning regarding around that. The Chavismo is going to keep in power. That could be bad news. For most people, it is. However, you know who you are dealing with. So if you keep that in check, that we're going to keep the Chavismo, a more moderate Chavismo, not the Chavismo that we had like 10 years ago when Hugo Chavez was still in power just before he passed away. After that, the Chavismo right now is more moderate, if you want to call it like that. Remember, I'm not into politics. However, something that you have to take into account for Venezuela on 2024. And that will be all for today. 10 macro trends for 2024. I hope this information is valuable for you and your different endeavors on the country on this particular year.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.